continue with our top story this morning. Former President Donald Trump checked in with key Republican allies on Capitol Hill yesterday following his indictment by a Manhattan grand jury.
Yeah, Republican leaders, in fact, are coming to his defense, even though we still don't know the charges that the former president is facing. New York Congressman Goldman is joining us now live to weigh in on the indictment and what exactly this means for Congress. So, Congressman Goldman, good to see you this morning.
You too, Dan.
Congressman, unprecedented, really history-making, so many different words we can use to describe this as the news of the indictment came down, right? Members of Congress were actually heading home for the two-week Easter recess. Now, Republicans were quick to come to the former president's defense. Let me get your take right now on the former president's response to all of this, right? He said, never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times in over decades, including spying on my campaign, weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent. What's your reaction?
Not at all surprised. It's very typical of Donald Trump. Always the victim, never the one who did anything wrong. And that's what we can expect from him. Donald Trump likes to play out his defense in the court of public opinion. He makes everything political. He makes everything partisan, and he tries to galvanize support on the outside in order to defend himself. The problem that he's going to face is that this is not a political process. This is a legal process. And we have a very well-established criminal justice system where Donald Trump has a number of rights bestowed upon him by the Constitution and tried and true throughout our history. He will be able to challenge the indictment. He will be able to confront witnesses and defend himself. And he is innocent until proven guilty. And that's very important. But what's even more important is that this plays out in the court of law. And I think what you referenced and we saw from Republican politicians and elected officials is assumptions that are not based on any fact in saying that this is a partisan prosecution, that the Manhattan district attorney is a Democrat going after Donald Trump. None of that has any basis in fact or reality. And as you point out, we don't even know what the charges are. We haven't seen the indictment.
Okay, so speaking of what's expected to play out, the former president is expected to turn himself in next week to be arraigned. Now, in the event that he changes his mind, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis already says that he will not extradite him. So as an attorney, what would happen if Trump didn't turn himself in?
Well, it would actually go to the courts. It doesn't go up through the governor. And there's very well-established law on this issue. Donald Trump could challenge extradition and go through the courts in Florida. But this is just more puffery and more political grandstanding by Governor DeSantis. He doesn't actually have a role in that process. And his threats are quite hollow. Yeah. But if Donald Trump wants to be a fugitive from justice and refuse to face his charges, that's certainly his choice.
Yeah, well, there are many reports saying that he has said in the past that he will turn himself in, and we're looking at early next week for that to play out. But let me ask you this, because you served as lead counsel during President Trump's first impeachment trial, which coincided with the Manhattan DA's investigation of the former president. You know this very well. So when he was first elected, Alvin Bragg decided not to go after Mr. Trump. I guess many are asking what changed, and what changed from even before, right, when Cy Vance was the Manhattan DA. How likely is it the case will go to trial moving forward?
Well, what changed, I have a very strong suspicion. Of course, I don't know because we don't know the evidence. Certainly, Mr. Bragg has not spoken about any of this. But what has changed is Mr. Bragg's view of the facts and evidence and how it applies to the law. He clearly thought that the case that was teed up for him when he took office was not sufficient to prosecute Donald Trump. Now he clearly believes that the evidence that they have collected is sufficient. And I think what is important for everyone to remember is Mr. Bragg clearly has a track record of following the facts and the law. And that is, I think, unquestionably what he is doing here. And the fact that he didn't prosecute Donald Trump a year ago over the recommendation of very senior prosecutors in his office is further evidence that he is not out to do this in any partisan or political way.
Okay, so we know that this case actually centers around payments to Stormy Daniels, which would be misdemeanor charges. Could these charges actually lead to felonies?
Well, I don't mean to be crass about this, but we actually don't know that.
Right.
Okay.
We don't know what the charges are. There are reports that there are 34 counts in this indictment. That indicates to me that it is far more than related to Stormy Daniels' hush money payments made 3 weeks before the 2016 election. And I think it's really, really important that we not treat reporting based on leaks as fact.
Right.
We don't know that. And as a former prosecutor, I can tell you that many leaks are not accurate.
Well, look at the fact that
we need to wait for the indictment.
Just the fact that we were told it was going to be weeks until we actually saw an indictment, according to a leak that was reported, right? And then all of a sudden it came out yesterday. So yeah, we do have to wait for this to be unsealed. Let me get your take as this, and we're going to leave you with this because we are almost out of time here. Politics aside, it's never been done in history, right? There were plenty of opportunities. Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, where a DA could have indicted a former president. They chose not to. So taking partisan sides out of it, just as a prosecutor looking at this, what is your take on indicting a former president?
When you're a prosecutor, you take an oath of office to pursue justice without fear or favor. And your job is an apolitical pursuit of justice through facts and evidence and application to the law without taking into consideration politics or partisan influences. And so I think what you're seeing here is that process being played out. We are a country based on the rule of law, which means that no person is above the law, and we're a government of laws, not men, and certainly not one particular man. And that is all we're seeing here. We're seeing our rule of law play out as it is intended to be.
All right. Well, Congressman Dan Goldman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.